the Photography Online podcast, in partnership with Kingjoy Tripods.
Coming up in our March podcast, we climb aboard a photography-themed train where you can travel 400 miles while taking part in curated photo shoots along the way, and we discuss yet more bad behaviour in the relentless pursuit of the perfect photograph. We ask if the world really needs a drone attachment that keeps it grounded, check out 2 new lens releases, and the camera Kickstarter campaign that Marcus is actually excited by.
And now, please welcome your panellists. A man who is so far ahead of himself, he gets in all his own shots. It's Marcus McAdam.
That catches my best side, my backside.
And a man who is so good at pronouncing Henri Cartier-Bresson, he claims to be fluent in Italian. It's James McCormick.
Guten Tag, bonjour, hello.
And here to keep them both in check, a task which deserves a far higher salary, it's Ruth Taylor.
Hi everybody, welcome to our March podcast. Now, James, of course, as usual, being confused. Henri Cartier-Bresson, as they say. Frenchman, James, is that right?
He is was a Frenchman, yes. A mighty fine Frenchman, one of the few.
Not an Italian. This is just because I wanted to mention James is frequently confused as to the nationalities of people, himself and others. You might have noticed, if you keep an eye on our thumbnail, which possibly most of you don't, we added a wee tagline in recently, and it said an Englishman, which we had a picture of Marcus with his little pinky up on our socials recently with a teacup. So Marcus is the Englishman. James, who people might also assume is an Englishman, is the one tagged as an Irishman. Now, we've talked about this quite a few times. He claims Irish ancestry. We're still debating whether it's legitimate or not. And a Scotswoman, which is myself, obviously. So that's that. We decided we needed a name for the three amigos. So an Englishman, an Irishman, and a Scotswoman. And all jokes welcome, actually. If you want, is there anything springs to mind? Are we walking into a bar? What are we doing?
Well, I've walked into many bars with the pair of you, and I'm the only one that actually orders a drink. Marcus did actually have a glass of wine the other day, I believe. So, hot breaking news.
I was party to that,
yeah,
and
Ruth was present and was witness.
I was,
but it was only it was mostly under pressure from paying clientele.
Oh, it's a slippery slope, my friend.
But we had the rare opportunity where we were dining out on the last night of the trip. So we were having a kind of like a farewell dinner, as we normally do on all trips. But we weren't having to drive back because we just walked across the road from the hotel, and it's not often the case. So normally I'm driving, but in this case I wasn't. So even though I don't drink, I still managed to consume 2 mouthfuls of wine.
Oh, was he all over the place, Ruth? I bet he was.
He was weaving his way. I'm surprised he didn't end up in the river, honestly. Anyway, just want to say, if you're listening for the first time, because I realised recently we don't actually welcome new listeners. I know we do have some, so maybe you don't listen to the podcast regularly. Maybe you've never watched our YouTube show, which is where this kind of sprung off from. If you are just a podcast listener or you're a new listener at all, you're very, very welcome. And do let us know. We would love to hear from you. podcast@mc2photography.com. We have got our usual things on the podcast. We've got our news section coming up in just a moment. We are going to be doing our pop quiz in the middle of the show, and then looking at some new gear items a little bit towards the end. So we're going to get right on into it, I think, Marcus, with a floral-themed story. What have we got going on to start us off?
Yep, so this first story is about the Mount Fuji Cherry Blossom Festival, which is an annual event which attracts, up to 200,000 visitors, and they attend to take photos of the beautiful cherry blossom against the backdrop of the iconic volcano. Now, this year, it's been cancelled due to misbehaving tourists. So city officials in the city of Fuji Yoshida have blamed overcrowding and disruptive behaviour as the reason for cancelling the event. Thanks to social media and influencers, so we can always blame everything on those now, can't we?
It's definitely a theme, yes.
Yeah, there's been a huge surge in numbers over the recent years to the small city of Fuji Yoshida. I'm going to keep saying that because I'm just quite pleased with the fact that I can pronounce it. Fuji Yoshida. Yeah, only 50,000 residents live there, but during the festival, it can see up to 10,000 visitors a day. So 20% of the population basically come into this small city. And I'm guessing, I don't know much about it, but I'm guessing that they just don't have the infrastructure in place to handle that many people, because I guess at all other times a year, they probably just get a trickle coming through. But complaints from the residents include visitors littering relieving themselves in people's gardens, trespassing, and this is all in order just to get a photo. So they'll wander, climb up the sides of people's houses and walk across people's, private yards or gardens just to get the perfect view down onto, this cherry blossom with a volcano in the background. And it's caused a few confrontational events between residents and tourists. So, it sounds like a typical camera club meeting, really, here in the UK, doesn't it? Although the festival's been cancelled this year, longer-term plans include establishing temporary parking areas, installing portable toilets and employing security personnel in order to keep, the peace and reduce the burden on local residents. According to the local news agency, people can sometimes wait up to 3 hours to get one of the better known shots from like a honeypot place. So, James, tell me, why would people want to queue for 3 hours just to get a photo? Does that make any sense to you?
None whatsoever. You won't be surprised to hear. But funnily enough, it reminds me of when Harry and I were in Namibia earlier in the year, a place called Dead Flay, where it's a big open pan, very hard to give it a size, maybe, 20 football pitches or something, of flat, cracked salt pan, basically, surrounded by sand dunes, and in that there's 50 petrified trees, and it's extraordinary what people will do. Rather than just actually take a picture of it, they set up camp next to it, they relieve themselves, which is slightly unpleasant, but at least in the desert it dries up quite quickly, so that's a good thing, I suppose. Anyway, they lean on them, they do all sorts of things with these trees, really, but in the end, it's because there's no security or anything there, it ends up, I noticed, being self-policing, because the other tourists themselves tell people in the end to get off the trees, not sit on them, not lean on them, all of these things. And I remember one influencer who was dancing around a tree with an umbrella, taking
Harry.
all these pictures. No, funnily enough, it wasn't Harry. Harry was walking around barefoot with his long locks blowing in the breeze.
I did see a picture of that, and I thought, is he taking his shoes off on purpose for this?
Yes, he had, because he likes to feel at one with the earth or something
He
like
was
that.
prancing rather than dancing, wasn't he?
He was definitely he was doing both of these things. But this lady with her umbrella, and it was quite amazing to watch her with a little tripod and changing outfits and doing all these things with the tree. And then one of our guests actually got her Instagram account, and it turns out she was a Russian lady, and we looked at the pictures a few days later when she posted them. Total waste of time. So there you go.
Bit harsh. But Marcus, I was looking at this article as well, the Mount Fuji Cherry Blossom Festival. Japan's well known for its cherry blossoms, and as these guys said, they've cancelled the festival in the hope that it's going to reduce some of the behaviour and perhaps some of the people coming along, but they still are aware they can't cancel the cherry blossoms themselves. So, how do you actually, is there any way of going about doing anything beyond what they're doing, which is trying to put in infrastructure and security and stuff like that? Do you think it's going to make a difference actually cancelling the festival itself?
Yeah, I don't know whether that includes restricting access to the area. You could close the roads and just let residents through, I guess, but I don't know. That's not part of the story here, so I don't have access to that information. But going back, what would it be, 20 years now, maybe a bit more, 22, 23 years. I used to live in Venice, and I was there during the Venice Festival. It would have been 2003, and back in that era, the Venice Festival was one of the biggest kind of, for want of a better word, festivals to go and see in the world. And it used to attract people from all over the planet. And I remember being there just to witness it. But I had a couple of friends there who warned me before, just get out of Venice. You just do not want to be here that week. And I thought, well, I'll just stay and experience it. But you've literally could not move in the street. It was just like packed sardines, and it was an absolute joke. It made me feel sick, and I just thought to myself, why is anybody here? Because no one's achieving anything. You're just standing in a crowded street looking at the back of the person in front of you. It just didn't seem fun to me at all. But now, forward wind to the present day, hardly as many people go to the Venice Festival. So you can actually go to Venice during, Carnivale now, and you walk around the streets and everything seems to work, normally, because I think the era's moved on, and the people who were used to go to the Venice Festival are now going to places like this. because in modern terms, it's newly discovered, whereas Venice is a bit old hat, So these things, they all come and go. But the difference is that Venice is a city that's been kind of, experiencing mass tourism for many, many, decades. And so they're geared up for it. But when it happens suddenly to a remote place like this, then, we've experienced it here on Skye as well, haven't we? In the popularity of people on Skye over the last probably 10, 15 years has increased, several fold. The car parks have needed to be expanded. There's been, a desperate lack of toilets, public toilets. So people end up just going wherever they need to go. It's not always their fault. If they can't find a toilet, what else are they supposed to do? But the infrastructure's just not there. There's lots of erosion of the major sites, so pathways have had to be put in and everything. And it just takes time for the infrastructure to catch up with demand, doesn't it?
It's difficult because, like, say, Instagrammers, influencers are promoting these places. We are, I'm not going to say guilty in the same degree, but we've put many things out around Skye on YouTube, on social medias. I've met quite a few people who've said, oh, hey, I watched your show, I'm on Skye because I watched, top 10 views to the Isle of Skye. Obviously there's a line, but can you really blame influencers for being actually at fault in this, or just the kind of the world we're in now?
100%. In the case of this, and I think a few months ago we did another story also in the region of Mount Fuji where they'd had to close off a village because people were trying to get a shot of a supermarket or something. It was something bizarre.
It was like a petrol station with the Mount Fuji behind it or something.
Yeah, it was just bizarre. But anyway, what happens is, you get people with a lot of followers who go to a place and only show the positive side of it and say, wow, look how amazing this is. And then, of course, everybody wants to go there. It's just the world that we live in, sadly. But if these influencers were promoting somewhere that everybody knew already, then they probably wouldn't have that much attention. But because they're promoting fairly unknown locations that are new, and that's the whole point that they do it, because they feel that they're bringing something to the table, then you get all these people just amassing to these places. And I've seen it. I could sit here for the next hour giving you examples of where I've seen it happen all over the world recently. So social media is 100% to blame.
All right. Well, moving on to a country that is also full of many people who like to take pictures. They're actually doing something quite novel and managing all these people in one place. James, tell us what this second story is about, because this is not something that I've ever heard of before.
So we're off to China. From Japan to China now, Ruth, and it's all about the Chinese railways have launched a photography-themed tourist train with onboard photo shoots. So it's kind of semi-answering some of the dilemmas that we were just talking about in Japan. So it's actually containing photographers and influencers this time within a train.
It's an interesting concept.
Yeah, it is. So the actual train for those train spotters out there is the Y783. So that's got to be a tick for somebody's little notebook, hasn't it? So, there's nothing wrong with a good train spotter. It's very similar to somebody who shoots film. But anyway, the train runs. So are you ready for this? Are you ready? Speak your pronunciations of varying words.
Yeah, go for it.
Heilongjiang province. How was that, Marcus? Marcus, you're our current Mandarin Cantonese speaking expert.
Yeah, go on. I'll let you off with that. Yeah, go on.
Was it all right? Heilongjiang?
Yes, I'm not reading this article, so I'm only going on your pronunciation. I can't see how it's spelt. So I'll just say it's good, James, and move on.
Thank you very much. We can move on. So anyway, the train runs from Harbin to Yabuli.
Right, now I can correct you on Harbin. It's 3 syllables.
Harbin.
Yeah, so when you read it, it looks like it's Harbin, 2 syllables, but it's actually Harbin. So it's 3, because it's three characters in Chinese.
Right, moving on, James.
It's written in English here. Anyway, now I've been corrected.
You asked. I'm only here to, deliver.
I know, and I was going to get it. Anyway, the principle is you jump aboard this train, you book yourself a ticket and you get aboard, and they will provide you with all sorts of themed photography interest along the way. So one is a European theme. So this is clearly catering for that Chinese market rather than the European market. But anyway, and I'm not entirely sure what a European theme would be. Maybe, do you fancy me in lederhosen, Ruth? We could go and do that if you wish.
Do you know, it'd be an interesting look for you, James.
I reckon I've got the legs for it. What do you think?
Yeah, no comment.
And then you've got snow and ice and varying other themes. But along the way, they will provide you with stylists, with makeup artists, I suspect with the odd model, or you too can model the clothes yourself. And funnily enough, I was in one of these themed National Trust properties not that long ago. Agatha Christie's old house, or I think it was a holiday home actually, anyway, on the south coast, and they had loads of 1920s clothes, but the little gold silky strapless number I couldn't squeeze into it. So, but they did have things that you could try on from that era. So.
I've always loved those. I've got a picture of my parents when they visited the west of the US in 1970s, and they're done up in the old style. You know, like they're about to get on a horse and carriage and go across the country. They're a lot of fun, these things. But what I like about these are actually obviously you can take pictures yourself with it, but they provide pro photographers as well to do it all for you.
They do, yes. So they provide assistance, and I've researched it further as well, actually, because it was really quite an interesting concept. They will actually, in some cases, actually produce your work for you and deliver prints for you as well on the train. So, you know, it's basically a start to finish all on board a train, and you can get off the train at certain places and use the train itself as a backdrop if you wish. So it's kind of like the ultimate experience. And the really weird thing is that, you know, Marcus and I used to go to China, and maybe we will again soon. Who knows?
Well, I'm off there next week.
Well, I know that, but I'm trying to build the jeopardy here for crying out loud.
It's not working.
It's not working. We know you're going there next week, but you're going there next week for different reasons. But anyway, at some point we might be returning to China, and one of the things that we do on the Photography Online Adventures is, you know, the Great Wall. Lots of honeypots, lots of off-the-beaten-track adventures as well. But we take a train for about 24 hours, and it is personally my favourite thing to do, railway journeys, especially in China, such a vast country. And, you know, luckily the train we take doesn't have, you know, people putting on European costumes.
This could be an amazing addition to the China trip. I mean, think about it.
Yeah.
All the
people dressed in European clothes?
Yeah, I mean, the whole shebang. It's a very Chinese kind of adventure.
I've got an update on this, James.
Yes.
Because you brought it up. So this all stems from when I used to live in China. I used to get these overnight sleeper trains because it was my preferred way of travelling, because Western people just didn't travel on and probably still don't travel on these trains. So as a Western person, as a Western face, you attract a lot of attention, and people come up and try and practice their, you know, often limited English, but they're making an effort. And by the time you get off at the other end, you've got, you know, 12 email addresses or telephone numbers of these people that have thrust them into your, you know, hand and promised to stay in touch. And of course, you never do. But it used to be a really kind of like a good experience where you used to mingle with the locals and really get a taste for life. But forward wind to the present day, and the mobile phone just prevents people from talking to anybody else. So when you get on a train now, people have just got their earpods in, and they're looking down at screens, and you could be a Westerner with two heads and four arms, and no one would notice you.
That is true to a degree. However, I would say that the last time we rode that train together, I think it was 2019, maybe 2018. I can't actually remember.
That sounds romantic, doesn't it? The last time we rode that train together. Woo!
Yeah, the love train together, yes, from wherever it was, Beijing to somewhere in the south. I can't actually even remember.
It would have been Guilin.
Guilin, yeah. But, you know, there was still, we took lots of pictures. Remember that ginormous fellow with a pot of noodles and lots of tattoos that I took some pictures of? Yeah, I mean, you know, there was still lots of photographic opportunities. I sat down, played cards with a couple of little old ladies, lost a packet of Haribos and a pot of noodles to them. I'm not sure how I lost, but I did. But we got some pictures, and, you know, it's almost our equivalent. So being on a genuine Chinese train, you know, what we do, and absolutely it's a highlight of the entire China experience for me, but for the Chinese tourists themselves, I guess, being on their own train, dressing as Europeans, or snow and ice concept, or whatever that is. There's a dubious-looking Santa Claus outfit, but anyway, we'll leave it there. I guess that's their equivalent as well. But either way, being confined and contained within a train, concentrating on just taking pictures and meeting people and having a good time with your cameras is a pretty good way to spend, 24 hours.
I have, however, identified a flaw with this project here, okay? And that's because you get on the train in one location Okay, and you spend time on the train and you dress up in outfits and you have all your photos taken. And then when you're finished, you're 400 miles away from where you want to be.
Dressed as a sexy Santa.
Exactly.
400 miles from home.
It's like, how'd you get back?
Well, you just take a train going back the other way. Honestly, it's just not rocket science, is it?
No, but it just seems to be a bit of a short-sighted project to offer this service to people. But when they finish the service, they're 400 miles away from where they started, so they've got to go back.
Listen. I have to say, I think this is a great idea. I mean, it's not to our taste. I can get that, but we are not exactly the arbiters of things to do with taste, are we? Me and you.
If the train went in a circle and it went through lots of scenery.
Oh, for goodness sake, Ruth, can you honestly?
No, but I'm just trying to evolve the idea.
Of course it goes through scenery. How do you know it doesn't go through? Of course it goes through scenery.
Yeah, but it goes in a straight line and then ends up miles away. I'm talking about going around in a circle so you end up back where you started.
Well, maybe it goes to Guilin, where it's very beautiful. You can see some cormorants and then you can get on your train and go back again.
Anyway, let's move on because we've definitely lost the train of thought.
Train
no pun
of
intended,
thought, love
but
it.
Kind of. Story number 3. I've got to say, this is an older story which has kind of come back into the news, but it was such a fun one, and certainly got some talking points to talk about. Marcus, tell us all about this.
So this is a story about Grizzler the dog, who's having his photos seen by millions of followers. Now, when I say his photos, they're not photos of him, they're photos that he's taken. So like Ruth said, it's quite an old story, this, but it's come back into the forefront of people's attention. So back in 2015, Nikon rigged up Grizzler, the dog. I think he's a border collie, with a camera around his neck. And it was the shutter was somehow linked to his heart rate. So every time he got excited, the camera would take a photo of whatever was in front of him. So if you imagine, from a dog's perspective, he's only going to get excited when he sees something like food or another dog or something in front of him. So the camera was basically just photographing what excited this dog. And I guess 2015, there was social media, again, wasn't what it is today. It wasn't the beast that it is today. And so it's having a second life breathed into it. See? So I don't think these are new photos. A Grizzler the dog is probably passed away, I would imagine.
Never know. He looks quite young in this one.
Can we not talk about dogs passing away, please?
Yeah,
Still
okay.
sore.
So people with lots of followers have started reposting these photos, and they've just gained a lot of traction over recent days. And Nikon has referred to Grizzler as a photographer, which I think was scraping the barrel a little bit.
It is scraping the barrel. So if this is quite a cool little thing, really, and I do like. It's a very. It's a unique thing. Well, it was back in 2015. But what occurs to me is that if we did this to your dog, all it would photograph is a bowl of, chicken breasts, skinned, corn-fed...
Langoustine and caviar.
Langoustine.
When I come in the door, she gets very excited.
It would get your dog would you'd just get pictures of people's crutches and overly expensive meals, which is what your dog lives on.
Give us some examples of what Grizzler's been taking pictures of then. What's been getting him all fired up?
Okay, so most of the shots are of other dogs. There's a shot of a cat in there and what have you. But the one that seems to have struck a chord with most followers is a photo of some boxes of corn oil next to some tins of baked beans. And it looks like it's just in the back of a truck or something. And this has caused millions of people to discuss whether it was the corn or the beans which got Grizzler excited. And that in itself just shows what a sad state the world is in today.
Oh, come on. No, I think that's just fun.
No. It's fun.
People have got nothing better to do than to discuss whether it's corn or beans that this dog's excited about.
No, I'm with you, Ruth, because during lockdown, I actually strapped a GoPro to the now dearly departed little Foxy dog. And we did quite a lot. You can get these, do you mind? It's still very raw. You can get harnesses that a bit like your dog wears, Marcus, but instead of some kind of buckle system for, attaching a large piece of chain, which is what you do to your dog, it actually has a GoPro fitting. So you can GoPro your dog, basically. And it was quite cool. I quite enjoyed it. Saw all sorts of things you'd never think you would see. Can't think of anything off the top of my head, but nonetheless.
But no, I like the whole, the project of seeing what excites a dog from a dog's point of view. But it's just the fact that millions of people, I mean, put it this way, there's a lot of people, there's a lot of people online, okay, that are trying desperately to, gain followers, who are putting out, quality content. And this is just absolute nonsense.
I can't think of anybody personally. Absolutely nobody comes to mind.
It's absolute nonsense. Just random photos of baked beans, and millions of people are commenting on it.
If you saw, I mean, I do this quite often on some of the major news sites. You have a quick look down to the top 10 news stories. You scan them, and very often the ones that are at the top are just they're the fluffy ones, they're the lifestyle ones, they're the offbeat, interesting ones, because people just like to glance. What I like about this story is, unlike what James was talking about, I've seen quite a lot of videos strapped to animals, and they're kind of fun, even pigeons in the sky, stuff like that. This is the fact that it's actually taken a still image of the one thing that it's a behavioural interest as well.
Yeah, and that side of it I find interesting. It's just I don't understand why it's so popular, that's all.
All right, well, if anyone else is actually interested in this and is a fun little story, do check it out. Link to that in the show notes. James, did you have anything to add there?
Absolutely. My heart rate, if there was a camera strapped to me now, Ruth, it would be on motor drive mode.
Right, okay, well, let's move on to our final story of the news section on this month's podcast. And this is kind of carrying on. I know we've had a bit of a theme carrying through. It just happens. This is a theme carrying on as well of a topic that we talked about last month. James was talking about, again, to do with wildlife and bad behaviour. I mean, there must be well-behaved photographers out there. We know there are. I'm looking at two of them right now.
Thank you.
But there are a lot of badly behaved photographers out there as well. So, James, explain, if you can, what's been happening to rile up the internet this time.
Rile up the internet, rile up those train spotters out there, as it were. So this is about a photographer who is called, I think, Needlessly Mike or something, and a thread that's been on Reddit. And he took a photograph of a short-eared owl flying past another photographer in a wild environment, in a field in the early morning, I would imagine, in heavy mist, basically. And he has said that the photographer itself, that's in the picture, not him, but the photographer that's in the picture with the owl in front of her, chased the owl up and down the field, and then the owl flew, got tired, got worn out, sat on a post. She chased it to a post, took more pictures of it, and then I don't know how Needlessly Mike himself got this picture with the photographer in the background without being in the way himself. But in the end, he's saying that this photographer and many other photographers have been disturbing wildlife by basically, harassing it, for want of a better words. And there's no doubt that does happen, and that is true. And I would suggest that Needlessly Mike himself, he's written quite a long post explaining his principles on how he goes about it, but I would say that if you regularly go to a place, which he admits he does, where this owl lives, then you are the problem yourself as well. And there's no doubt about that, because it doesn't really matter how careful you are. If you return to a place and take pictures, you are disturbing that creature, unless you are an absolute world expert on that species. So, I'd be very careful about flinging mud too much here. And I would also just say that going forward, for all of us photographers that either photograph, wildlife professionally, or do it as a hobby, or do it from time to time, that repetition is the key thing here. You shouldn't be repeating your behaviour, because if you don't know that animal's behaviour, you could be very well meaningly putting it out. So just because you think, I'm standing well back from it, you might well be standing over one of its principal hunting grounds. You don't know that. So I would suggest the only real way, if you truly care about wildlife, and of course we all should, is to actually not visit these places too often. If, or you stumble across something, you take its picture to the best that you can under the conditions that you find it in, and then you move away and you don't go back for a few days. And when you go back, you stay in a slightly different place, and you just think about what it is you're doing. There are many photographers out there that photograph this particular species of owl in the UK. They have very set routines and set patterns, and they're very predictable in their behaviour. And there are many photographers that go out there and photograph them and use them as social media collateral to gain listeners in our case, I suppose, because we're talking about it, but to gain followers on Instagram or whatever. And there's a lot of claptrap written about it, about how careful I am, how safe. I've shot it on a 400mm lens or an 800mm lens. I'm not going to tell you where it is, so therefore I'm being all heroic and saving this creature. It's a secret location. It's absolute claptrap. Leave it alone. Leave it alone. Don't go at all.
So in your opinion, James, I mean, people who are like you say, trying to justify what they're doing and having long lenses and stuff are just as much to blame as someone who's actively harassing and chasing an owl up and down the field.
That's the account that this chap has written, that this person was actively chasing it, and there's no doubt people do that. I'm not disputing his account at all. I've seen it myself. I've seen it when in Richmond Park in London, people harass the deer. If they're sleeping, they'll walk up to them, make them stand up because they look better standing up. If they're in the middle of the rut, they will get stupidly close to them. I mean, and they are very dangerous animals. People use calling machines, or your phone can play out the sound of a red deer if it wants to, or indeed the sound of an owl, and you can call them. All of these things are morally bankrupt behaviour because animals are under enough stress as it is just living in the wild. They don't have the backup of, a takeaway in the evening when they get home. They depend upon their time to hunt and to live. We do not. So you shouldn't return to these places, no matter how expert you think you are. Unless you're a true expert in that. If you're just a photographer, don't do it. Don't stay away. Take the pictures and then go away and don't go back for a good long while.
Dividing line? Because I have seen people do this in maybe environments that we wouldn't consider entirely wild. Sheep, going up to them, making sheep noises, which everyone does, from kid upwards, to hailing cows and trying to get them to turn around, face the camera.
Well, I mean, those are things that we do, and I would say, I'm not going to talk about sheep because I can't stand sheep, living on Dartmoor. Hate the damn things. So they're only worth about 20p each anyway. And lamb's so expensive.
That's because it comes from New Zealand, James, that country just down the road.
But yes, with Highland cattle, for example, we were taking some pictures of some just the other day, and they had a youngster. It had probably under a week old. Normally, and these Highland cattle actually live on a road and are artificially fed. If they are being fed or walking to their food, we do not get in their way. And I don't mind photographers taking pictures of those as a repeatable thing to some degree, because I know that I absolutely would say that with that particular set of cattle, I am an expert on those cattle. I know their behaviour and I know we're not disturbing them. But this time it was slightly different because there was a calf. It was probably only a week old. So clear instructions: do not go anywhere near, not just for safety reasons, which is obvious, go near a big Highland cow, but don't go anywhere near that calf because it is a newborn. So give it at least 100 metres or something, I think we were roughly. So there was no disruption to that animal at all. But my issue is with photographers, not just this particular piece involving Mike and his nemesis, other photographer, who I suspect there was a bit of jealousy going on there, as they were, I suspect, both harassing the owl. But it's more that people that chase the light and chase the animals, a lot of photographers do it. And you just can't, I'm afraid, you just have to take your shots while you get them. And then, as I keep saying, leave the animal alone. Going back, wearing camo gear. I mean, honestly, what is wrong with these people? I mean, like an owl can't see you wearing camo gear.
It begs the question, though, James, what are people taking these photos for? What are they doing with the photos?
Well, they're just bigging themselves up to get more followers on your beloved social media.
Social media is again to blame. Is there a theme going on here?
Well, I think it is to blame here, but I would say that this has been going on for years and years. But it just comes down to how people think that they become experts in these creatures, and it becomes this kind of, it's a currency, basically. I know where this owl lives and I can take pictures of it, but I'm not going to tell anyone, and I'm going to photograph it ethically. No, you're not. No, you're not. So
going back, you were mentioning the calling sounds that you can play from your phone, James.
Yeah.
If someone wanted to attract your attention, what would the call be? Would it be maybe a young girl, maybe with an Essex accent, going, "All right, darling, grab your coat, you've pulled"?
Do you know what it's definitely not? It's definitely not the sound of an orange machine being squeezed at 20 minutes before breakfast in Lewis.
Ruth, you are the most annoying human being in the world.
A good 20 minutes before he appears after that starts going. Right, anyway, we're going to leave the news stories there.
Do I not get to answer? I'm sorry, Ruth. Do I not get to answer what my call would be?
Oh, sorry. I'm sorry. Tell it. How do we get your attention, James?
It would be a very gentle Inverness stroke Louisian accent. A little Scottish drawl.
Saying what?
I'll try and find someone.
Saying, hey, Seamus, get yourself down and peel these oranges.
Right, well, I'll try that next time, which is not very long away. All right, we're going to leave the news stories there. As I said, links to all of those, the fun images, the serious images, the lady harassing the owl, all of that in the show notes, whatever platform you're listening on, so do check those out.
The Photography Online podcast in partnership with Kingjoy Tripods.
Yeah, we are, of course, excited to have Kingjoy Tripods supporting us again in 2026. This year we thought we'd have a quiz element because, as you know, we do love a quiz here on the podcast. And so every month we are playing a clip of one of the team using a Kingjoy tripod somewhere in the world. And from the clues that they provide, you can try and work out where they are and what they're taking a photo of. Now, these guys can play along as well, but obviously not James, because we're throwing to James, who was on location. So, James, you can just keep quiet during this. Last month, it was Nick. Nick was in the Dolomites. This month, as I said, James has been travelling, so let's see where he is.
Hi, Ruth. You joined me on an island, which is well known, but often overlooked by its very close near neighbour. I could easily give its location away, so I need to be careful with my clues. But first things first, let me tell you all about the tripod I've chosen for this particular trip. As is usually the case, weight and size are the most important factors, as I need to get this tripod into my checked-in airline bag. However, the Kingjoy A83S is exactly what I needed, as it folds up super small, but without having to do any of the annoying inverting of the legs which you would get with so many other travel tripods. Despite its compact size when folded up, it still gets the camera up to my eye level, and I'm well over 6 foot, as you know. Height is really important for me here, as I'm shooting buildings, which I don't want to be converging, so I need to get the camera up as high as I can to avoid having to point upwards. So, I've already told you that I'm on an island and that I'm photographing buildings. There have probably been clues from hearing the language which is being spoken by passers-by. So the only other clue I'm going to give you is that you wouldn't want to shoot in this place in black and white. I mean, you could, and I have, but its appeal would be lost, and was. So the question is, Ruth, where am I?
Well, we will find out later on in the show. James is going to tell us where he is, and you can, of course, see the image that he's taken as well by clicking the link in the show notes. If you want to know what's available in the Kingjoy professional lineup, do check out the Photography Online shop if you are in the UK, or you can, of course, go to kingjoy.com for international sales or to find out your nearest dealer. All right, well, it is time to move on to my favourite part of the podcast.
The Photography Online podcast quiz.
Welcome to the pop quiz. The guys are getting ready. Marcus is unzipping his high collar. James is reaching for his notepad, which has already got writing on it. Thanks for the effort. Clean sheet. Start of the Photography Online podcast quiz. I'm asking James and Marcus photography related questions. You guys can, of course, play along as well. The answers will be revealed at the end. Here's how it works. 5 rounds, each one worth a point or so for the correct or closest answer. In the event of a tie, both the chaps receive a point. The winner gets my eternal admiration. And so, with that incentive, let's play.
Round 1. Photography trivia.
All right, right into it. Both of you guys seem to have pens to hand, so we shall go straight on. Here is the question. In the famous 2011 selfie copyright case involving wildlife photographer David Slater, which animal was ultimately ruled ineligible to hold copyright over the images that it had captured?
Okay. How specific do we need to be on that?
You can be as specific as you like, but I will take the general species.
Okay, good. That's fine.
I may award a bonus half point if you can get it bang on. But I'll see how generous I'm feeling. So you guys, I mean, Marcus is obviously happy with that question.
I mean, I know I can't spell it.
Really? Okay.
No.
That's all right, as long as you can say it.
You can't spell H-O-R-S-E?
Yeah, care.
I genuinely can't spell that.
That is absolutely fine. You got something down, though. Will I know what you mean, James?
I hope so.
Right, okay, so do I. Let's move on.
Round 2. Multiple choice.
All right, in this round I'm going to ask a question which is fairly difficult, and so to help you out there are 4 possible answers. All I need you to do is tell me which one you think is correct. Here's the question. Which of these films was originally designed for aerial reconnaissance during World War II? Is it A, Kodachrome, B, Ilford FP2, C, Kodak Tri-X, or D, Agfa Scala, or Scala? I'm not sure how you pronounce that one.
What was which time period for aerial reconnaissance?
World War II. World War II. Originally designed aerial recon.
Okay, I've got my answer.
Look at him. He's looking already smug.
No,
Two
I'm almost
questions
certainly
in.
wrong.
Do you know this? Do you look me in the eye down this, whatever this is, and tell me you don't know it? Do you know this? Because if you know it, I think I'll be able to work it out.
Oh, careful now.
Oh, he's got his poker face on. It's like looking at Lady Gaga.
I don't
Look at
know.
that poker face.
I don't know it. I don't know it, but I've just used some intelligence and common sense to narrow it out or eliminate a couple of the other answers. So I've got it down to a 50-50.
Fair enough.
All right. James, have you got something?
Well, I've written a letter down, yes.
Okay, all right.
Round 3. Name the year.
All right, well, obviously, the answer to this question is a year. The round goes to whoever gets the closest answer. If either of you gives me the exact year, you get a bonus point. This happened last month for the first time ever, and that was Marcus. He still lost, but, still, first person ever in the quiz to get a bonus point.
I have been walking around with my head held slightly higher than usual, though, Ruth.
Okay, you could put that wee crown on we had on the live show last night. Fit over one of your curls, maybe. Okay, here's the question. In what year did Eastman Kodak file for bankruptcy?
Oh, crikey, that's a question.
Which time? Didn't they go bankrupt more than once?
Not that I'm aware of.
Crikey.
Okay. Right. I've got a number.
James, I'm seeing some suspicious arm movement by James. You're not looking at anything, are you?
No, not at all. What, like the internet, you mean?
He just cottoned on to the accusation. Yeah. No.
I genuinely don't know.
That's okay. You can make a guess. If you like, you might get close. I mean, the closest will get it.
Can we just we got to have a time limit on this, Ruth. I mean,
All right, I've written down a date. Calm your skin down. Calm down.
He's asking for questions to be reread, and he's playing for time. It's just
you're only saying this because you're so confident in this round.
No, I think we should just get on with it before the listener forgets what the question was.
All right, well, moving on.
Round 4. Artificial intelligence.
Now, based on Marcus's say-so, we will only be playing this once in this round. I asked ChatGPT to describe a photographic object, person or practice without mentioning the name of the subject. What did I ask you to talk about? Pay close attention, Marcus, you wouldn't hear this again.
I live where two planes meet. I let your setup shift orientation without disturbing the base. Rigid and understated, I keep your balance true and your alignment perfect. I hold the corner so your frame stays true. What am I?
Yeah, James looks like he's got something written down.
I got told off for taking too long, so
I know, yeah. Right, Marcus, got a limit on this. 5.
No, I've got something written down. I'm still processing. I might change my mind in a minute, but
1.
Anyway, I'm going to multitask. On the next question, I'm going to be thinking of that one as well.
All right, well, here is our final round.
Round 5. Take a wild guess.
All right, well, as this name suggests, this round requires an answer which could be almost anything, so you are unlikely to get it exact. Take a wild guess. As with round 2, the point goes to whoever gets closest to the answer, and although unlikely, if one of you does get the exact answer, there are 2 bonus points. Here is the question. What was the most popular camera used by Flickr users in 2025?
2025?
Flickr, does that still exist?
It does indeed. Yes, it does.
Wow. Okay. Okay. I'm not going to say anything because I was going to basically talk through what I was thinking, but that's going to give James an advantage.
Don't do that. Don't do that.
Don't do that because we've got lives to lead.
Flickr, yeah.
Yeah, well, Marcus is obviously thinking about two things at once, so it's going to take him a bit longer.
Okay.
Is that all the questions, by the way?
That's all 5. We got right through them.
Wow, that's. You're not even going to have to edit much.
Yeah, I'm not confident towards the end there at all.
Okay. All right, but you all got something? Should we go back through the questions?
Yeah.
Well, no, it's no need.
Okay, you don't want the answers, right? You can take your headphones off. I'll do it with Marcus. All right, here we go, Marcus. Round 1, the question was about the selfie copyright case involving a wildlife photographer and an animal which was ruled illegible or ineligible to hold copyrights over the images which it captured. What animal was it? What kind of animal was it?
A monkey. That's all.
James?
It was a macaque.
Oh.
No, hang
right.
on, whoa, Ruth. I was very clear about this. I said, what are you looking for? And you said the general species will do.
You're correct.
Okay. So there's no bonus points going on here.
So if I told you it was a horse...
What?
I would be wrong. No, but there we go. Yeah, no, you're right. It was a monkey/macaque, and no bonus points on the go, but congratulations. A little bit more admiration for James than for Marcus there. The photographer was working in Indonesia when an animal picked up his unattended camera and captured a series of unexpected selfies. After the images were published, PETA, People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals, they filed a lawsuit arguing that the animal, which they decided to name Naruto, should legally own the copyright to the images. That didn't work for them, but it was an interesting story, and the selfies are fantastic. I gotta say, some of the best pictures I've seen, selfie related certainly, and I think there will be a link to this. I'll put a link. Don't usually do it in the quiz, but I'll do it in the show notes. So there we go. Naruto the macaque from Indonesia was the animal. So round 2 was multiple choice. Sorry, yes, you both get the point for that, just in case you're following along.
1.5 points.
Which one? Oh, James is going to not let this one go. He wants a secret half point. Okay, so round 2, we asked which of these films was originally designed for aerial reconnaissance during World War II. It was A, Kodachrome, B, Ilford FP2, C, Kodak Tri-X, D, Agfa Scala.
Oh, come on, you got to go to James. No, you got to go to James first this time.
I genuinely don't know, but I chose my favourite of all the films, the Godfather of films, C, Tri-X.
C, Tri-X, James. Marcus?
Now, you see, I've excluded that as a potential option because
it's later.
No, because of the high ISO. Because if you were doing aerial reconnaissance, you'd want fine grain, and Tri-X is a 400 speed film with quite large grain. So I don't think it's that for that reason. I've gone for Agfa Scala because that's an ISO 25 film.
Well, and also, Reese made these questions up, and I'm not sure where she would have got Agfa Scala from.
Well, she would have just Googled black, or films from the 1940s, wouldn't she? And that would have come up on the list.
Yeah, maybe.
Have you to date been correct about my motivations and all the rest of it? I think not. Anyway, the winner is James. It was Kodak Tri-X, originally introduced in 1954.
Oh, you're going to have to edit out me banging the desk. I'm so sorry.
Designed to be fast, tough, and pushable, made it perfect for available light shooting. It became the defining look of mid-20th century photojournalism. Gritty, contrasting, and alive. Think Vietnam. Think James. Don McCullen's wartime photography.
Oh, it's me all over. Gritty and contrasty.
It was a very popular film in the war era. We're still in the war era, I guess, but in that war era.
It was a very popular film when I started my career, do you mind?
Well, exactly. It's been popular ever since, but because it's gritty and because it's grainy, I would have thought that it'd be useless as an aerial reconnaissance film.
Look how upset he is. Nothing is sweeter than you getting an analogue question wrong.
I should have been born a lot earlier because I could have helped them with that dilemma and said, look, you want a lower speed film for this bad boy.
Okay, well, you were wrong. James was right. I used it in North Uist recently, actually, and when I was researching this and realised, thinking about Vietnam, I could look at my picture and think, yeah, that could have been taken by Don McCullen in Vietnam. So there we go. Point goes to James.
Are you saying North Uist looks like Vietnam?
I mean, the picture I took, certainly on the Tri-X, it does have a look, let's just say that. Round 3 was Name the Year. In what year did Eastman Kodak file for bankruptcy? Was the question. Marcus, why don't you go first on this?
So I've gone 2012.
Oh!
Ooh, James.
I changed it from
What was that noise?
I changed it from 2012 to 2013.
Okay. Correct answer was 2012. Bang on.
Oh, come on. That's twice.
That's two. That's a bonus point, Marcus.
Yeah,
No,
but-
I'm not having this.
2 in a row. That's got to be a double bonus. I've got to get 50 points for that, surely.
So you're now neck and neck. Congratulations. This is very
This
familiar
is just
sounding.
ridiculous.
What do you mean we're neck and neck? Hang on a minute. I should be in the lead because I got a bonus point. I got the first.
Oh no, you're right. Yeah, right. You're right.
Yeah, but you've cheated me on the macaque.
Do we need an umpire in this quiz
No,
now?
I've got this all written down. I'm just
Okay.
glancing at it. I'll do it
Dear,
properly.
oh,
Anyway,
dear.
Kodak. Yes, let me give you a bit of background. They, I think, as we all know, struggled financially in the late 90s. As a result of increasing competition from Fujifilm, that's for the film side of things, they also struggled with the transition from film to digital. They emerged from bankruptcy just after a year, 2013, after a restructure, which I would tell you what it was all about, but it's quite complicated.
No, don't bother.
The irony there, Ruth, is that Kodak were the people who invented the digital camera and they put themselves out of business.
I know, it happens. Someone has a bright idea and doesn't know how to carry it on, and other people just take
think
it and run
through,
with it.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay, round 4 was artificial intelligence. I asked ChatGPT to describe something. James, why don't you go first on this one?
Tilt shift lenses.
Okay. Marcus?
Yeah, that's what I've gone for as well. But I changed my answer from something that I'd got before that. But then I thought there's no way that you would put that into Chat GPT or whatever it is. So I then went for tilt shift lens.
Were you going for some nodal point or something?
I was, yeah. Look, I'll show you my piece of paper.
Yeah,
look.
no, I wrote down nodal point as
Yes.
well. Yeah, that's really weird.
You can't see that, but look,
Yeah,
nodal
yeah.
point there. And then
Yeah.
I've got
We can see your other answer, though, Marcus.
Oh,
Jeez,
yeah.
put it down.
Oh, I
dear.
can't see it, to be honest. You're fine. You're absolutely fine. I genuinely can't see that. So, no, I thought you were talking about a nodal point, and my process of was exactly the same.
Okay, both processes wrong. The answer was
Oh.
L bracket.
Well, that's not really what
yeah.
an L. Well, I suppose it. Well, that's not really what an L bracket does. It's got. I mean, anyway, never mind.
It could change the orientation without changing the base of the tripod. It's got a corner on it.
Oh, I didn't hear all that stuff.
I played it twice for you, honestly. Pay attention. Right, anyway, nil point to both of you on that one.
We
Marcus
were
is
so confident. What a pair of losers.
No, I wasn't confident at all. But so yeah, no problem there. So, but it does mean I'm still in the lead with one round to go.
Can you honestly, this is so annoying.
There are 2 bonus points for if you get this one correct. So
Okay.
What?
James could get this.
He'll
if
have
he
written the
gets this
same as
bang on.
me. Suck
Okay, the most popular camera used by Flickr users, uploaders, in 2025. Now they've just released their stats, and I thought maybe one of you guys might have looked at that recently.
No.
I don't know if that's true or not. Obviously not.
I didn't even know Flickr was still a thing, Ruth.
It is still a thing. So give us what you think the camera might be. James, go first.
I just wrote down iPhone.
Okay.
Marcus?
Marcus?
I've gone Sony A7R4.
Oh,
Okay.
well, we're going to get a winner.
We're going to get a winner out of this. Neither of you are correct,
Oh,
Oh yes,
which does mean that
damn it.
Marcus wins. But let me just tell you what the answer. I know he hasn't had this for a while. Is this your second out of 15 podcasts?
I've been robbed though.
Yeah, I've never been so happy to get an answer wrong, Ruth.
I know. Well, there you go. I mean, if you got it right, it would be even better. But no, the answer was the Canon R6 Mark II.
Absolute garbage. If it's not the iPhone, that is
followed
not true.
By the Sony
I'm not having
A7 II, followed by the iPhone, and then the Nikon Z6 Mark II.
Right,
I mean,
Ruth.
Flickr is not just socials. Flickr used to originally be used by photographers.
Exactly, and that's
But it's
why.
it's not pros and it's not iPhone users. So it is that in between category that uses it.
So it's proper photographers. So that's why it's a Canon and not the Sony.
Sony's a close second, iPhone, and then the Nikon Z6 Mark
So the
II.
iPhone is in the list.
Yeah, it's third.
All right.
It's third, but it's interesting to me because it shows the kind of people that use Flickr. So maybe not the super high pro level, and not the kind of social snappers, but those people that are, enthusiasts perhaps.
Well, that's why I went for a camera body, because I knew that it would be photographers that would use it. But I just chose the wrong brand and the wrong model. But apart from that, I was close.
It was a wild guess, so
Yeah.
that's all right. But there you go. Congratulations, Marcus. 3 points. based on your bang on one. You're getting quite good at this.
Listen, Ruth, you can see that, right? Listen.
I can see macaque.
Look.
Yeah.
Is I spelt macaque right?
Yeah, I think you have actually. Yeah.
Have I? That's unusual for me. There we go.
Yeah.
And that extra squiggle on 2012 to turn into 2013, and now
I know.
I've got a whole month of absolute nonsense coming my way.
Listen, James, I think, because I feel sorry for you, okay?
Yes, it's a draw. I accept.
No, going back to the monkey macaque, I think you should deserve an extra half a point for that.
Yeah, fine. I know why you're saying that. Very good. Because you're good at maths and you win by half a point. Yes, thank you. I'll take it. I'll take that, Ruth, because we're going to do this over the course of a year, remember?
Also, the half point could mean everything.
Could.
Anyway, congratulations, Marcus. Very close, James.
Very well played.
Don't look at that. Sportsmen's both, or at least one. Anyway, if you manage to score higher than Marcus, do let us know. And if you'd like to submit any questions as well, always grateful to receive those. Do send them in. We've got a dedicated email address, podcast@mc2photography.com.
Listeners from an unlikely location.
Yes, we do like saying hello to people from unlikely locations. Now, last month we went a bit more general, shall we say, and we were saying hi to people from Canada and Australia, but we thought we'd have a look at our top, again, a top one, not so unlikely, but our top Asian country, which I think we did before, and it was India. Is that correct? But it's swung around.
Yeah, well, actually, when we did it before, Ruth, it was, you asked James to guess what it was. James guessed India, and he was wrong.
That's correct.
It was Malaysia, but since then, Malaysia's gone to nothing, so I don't know where they've all gone.
But maybe people on holiday from India. We don't know.
Yeah.
But top Asian country last month was Singapore.
Wow.
And so...
well, it's next door to Malaysia.
So they've all gone south.
They've all gone south.
If next month it's Indonesia, then we can kind of follow their route south.
Their progress through Asia. I believe English is their official kind of government language and stuff. But Selamat Datang, do you know what? Take it as it is. I actually tried listening to this on Google. It's the hardest thing I've ever heard said. I'm not even going to attempt to say that how it sounds, how they say it over there. So Selamat Datang, just take that. You guys from Singapore, nice to have you. We've also got a really unexpected location. We had somebody listening in last month from a place called Reunion Island.
Yep,
which is an island.
There.
Oh, you're having a laugh.
No, I have.
How can you have been there? I was thinking I'll ask Marcus this time. You definitely wouldn't have been there. It's a tiny island in the Indian Ocean.
Yeah, owned by the French.
Yes.
Yeah.
Why were you there?
Just touring around.
Carrying out reconnaissance.
I was going to say, yeah. Did you have a Tri-X with you?
It was a long time ago. It would have been 2001 or something like that, 2002.
Okay, so it is owned by the French. Bonjour, if you are listening from Reunion Island. And seriously, if it is you, get in touch and let us know what you're doing out there.
Yeah, get in touch. They must, tell us what you're doing.
Absolutely, unless it's kind of on the down low and we're not supposed to know.
No, it's definitely on the down low, but we want to know.
Can I tell you my Singapore story as well?
Oh, go on then.
Okay, so the first time I went to Singapore, I've been there twice. First time I went there for 4 days on my way to Australia, thinking that will be enough time to kind of see it. It's only a small country. It's more a city than a country. And 4 days will give me ample time. So I arrived, went straight to my hotel, and outside the hotel was this street kind of like food vendor thing. And I was really hungry, having just got off a long flight. So I went and got some food, but then went to bed, woke up in the middle of the night, hideously ill, okay, and spent the next 4 days glued to the toilet. And then just as I felt better, it was time to get my onward flight to Australia. So all I saw of Singapore was the ceiling of my hotel.
And the bottom of your toilet bowl. Well, thank you for that. I'm sure there's a lot nicer things to be seen in Singapore.
Would you like my Singapore story?
Oh, have you got one as well? Is it more pleasant?
Yeah, well, there's a bit of a thing in the Far East with wasabi and myself. Marcus has witnessed it on a couple of occasions, but I also got into a bit of bother in Singapore with some kind of wasabi, and I went rather red in the face and had to take time out for about 30 minutes from the shoot I was doing. Well, everyone was mightily concerned.
Did you poke your eye after having eaten wasabi? Is that what it is?
No. I just consumed it.
Oh, right.
It's a lot more potent over there than it is here, Ruth.
Oh boy, is it ever. Crikey.
I wouldn't even need to hear it. If it arrives in my sushi, I just it goes out. No, I've seen too many behind the scenes videos of you lot, smearing it on James's camera lens and stuff like that, and the ensuing chaos.
Oh, I had some in China once as well, didn't I, Marcus, in Guangzhou? And I got waterboarded by a minibus load of local Chinese that were helping us on a shoot. So it was so hot.
pouring water in your eyes.
Right, I'm sure there are far more pleasant memories from people that have been to Singapore than these two have got. But if you're listening from there, again, get in touch, or anywhere. We always love to hear from you guys, where you're from, and what you're doing while you're listening, if you're out and about, walking the dog, whatever. Podcast at mc2photography.com, or just leave a comment on whichever platform you are listening on. And we have had some comments on last month's podcast. This is from Kevin Thomas. This is relating, I believe, to the story we did last month about the frogs that photographers managed to annihilate, apparently. He says, I came down to live in southern Africa, and the amazing fauna and flora motivated me, to get a camera. Then I became a member of the Field Guide Association in an attempt to learn and understand how best to spend my time in the bush. I would never interrupt an animal to its detriment. Behaviour you mentioned around those frogs really PS me off, as he has written.
Well, he's quite right, and that's exactly what I was saying about the owl, really. Learn about your quarry, if you like, for want of better words, before you actually take pictures of it. It's a very good way round to do it, and if you don't know, leave it alone.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for that, Kevin. Ian was in touch. Ian Galbraith said, wish I'd heard this before going on the Ascend workshop. That might have saved me from buying another lens. And then the time involved cleaning the sand from all my gear, all because I never closed a zip. This was obviously relating to the story we did about the bag that claims to be the best bag ever with the push button lock. So you don't have to zip it all the way around first. You just shove it closed. Ian's obviously not closed his zip one time and lost a lens, an expensive looking one as well. Thanks, Ian, for that. Steve got in touch via email. Steve Payne, we know Steve. He said, the recent podcast and YouTube show referenced and put down the original Peak Design tripod. I have 3 tripods, which I will use depending on location and objective. I will use the Peak Design carbon fibre tripod in more urban settings. On my recent trip to Italy, for example, I took that tripod for lightweight outings in Rome and Florence, plus the Venice workshop. It worked great the entire trip, even when fully extended. Plus, as James might have noticed in Venice, because of its compact size, I successfully placed it on the railing of one of the bridges with a leash around me to prevent unfortunate mishaps off the bridge, which avoided the subtle bridge movements. And for what it's worth, I am a happy Peak Design owner, just prudent when and how I use it.
So the problem with tethering yourself to the tripod is that if you fall over the bridge, then you're going to pull the tripod with you. Whereas if you don't do that, at least someone can take it.
Yeah, true. You could lose your life, but the tripod will
Exactly.
serve another master.
Yeah.
But no, Steve just saying he does use them and they're fine. He just knows when the right context is to use them. So thank you, Steve, for getting in touch. Regarding the YouTube show, we released a YouTube show. When was it? Middle of February, Valentine's Day. In fact, we released a Valentine's special all about learning to fall in love with your gear again. And we've had a few comments on that. And I want to do the first one, just from Chris Sale, who was in fact our guest on the show. Chris says, thanks for taking me out, letting me try a couple of your cameras, Marcus. I enjoyed the experience of using the Mamiya. I'm hoping this will be the year I take my first steps into the world of film photography. As a coach and a mentor to other photographers, I will never be able to turn my back on digital, but if there is a market for high quality prints of my area, it is something I am very keen to explore. So thank you, Chris, for that. Scott said, I needed this. I just retired from a 27-year career working for both Nikon and Canon. Time to find my photography joy, since I can actually go make images and relax and not think about work anymore. And Vaughn Taylor got in touch. He said, very interesting content this month. I owned 3 Fuji cameras and also hated them. Autofocus lousy, sensor prone to artifacts. I changed the lot to a Sony and have never looked back. So this was not a Fuji bashing thing, but just basically enjoying the gear and getting gear that does it for you, and refinding your mojo perhaps if the gear is taken that away from you.
It certainly wasn't a Fuji bashing exercise, Ruth, because one of the cameras that I gave Chris to use was in fact a Fuji. So. There
we go. But if you haven't seen that, it is up on our YouTube channel. We will of course have a few more videos out, probably before this podcast comes out in fact, so we'll tell you more about that towards the end of the show. But we're going to move in to our final feature and have a wee look at some stuff.
It may be new, it may even be exciting, but does the world really need it?
Marcus, a camera with the word beer in the title. Is it as exciting as it sounds?
Actually, it's more exciting than it sounds. So This is the Beer Pan which when I read that, for some reason I want to do it in a Jamaican...
Beer pan.
Yeah, you want to do it in a Jamaican accent, don't you?
Really?
Beer pan.
Beer pan.
I don't, well, you just can't say that without going into a Jamaican accent. But anyway, it's a bit like the word valley. You can't say that without going into a Welsh accent.
Valley.
This is such an English thing.
Okay. So this is a brand new 35mm film camera which shoots double width frames, so similar to that of the iconic Hasselblad X-Pan in the 1990s. But unlike the X-Pan, this camera can't switch between normal frames and panoramic frames, so it only shoots panoramic frames. So you know what you're getting right from the start. However, as an X-Pan or as an X-Pan user, because I don't have one anymore, I can honestly say that if you do have an X-Pan, you very rarely use it in the normal mode anyway, because why would you? You know, that's the whole purpose of the camera, is to take wide shots, so why would you not utilise that? So I don't think the fact that this new camera can't take normal size photos, it can only take the wide photos, is any sort of limitation really. So let me tell you about it. It has a waist level optical viewfinder, which I think you'll like, James. Yeah.
Yes.
It's unclear because I couldn't work it out. It doesn't mention anywhere if it's got a magnifier. So if it doesn't have a magnifier, I think that would be a little bit limiting in focusing. But good for composition, because normally when you have a waist level viewfinder, you use it to look down on like a TV screen from a distance to get your composition right. And then for focusing, you flip up the little magnifier and you put your eye to it, and then that allows you to see very clearly whether something's in focus or not, which you'd struggle with if it wasn't for the magnifier. And I don't think this does have a magnifier, but can't say that for sure. But it's not mentioned anywhere, and I couldn't see it on the photos, but that's possibly a limitation. So it uses Bronica ETR lenses, which are great lenses, and they've got a leaf shutter in them, so that's where the shutter is as well. The exposure times are controlled by a dial on the body itself. So that's quite nice, because you've got like a tactile rotary dial on the top, which does all your shutter speeds, for want of a better word. It's got a bubble level on top to ensure your horizons are straight, because that's obviously very important when you've got super wide panoramic shots. Now, it's made from a combination of 3D printed nylon and alloy top and base plates, just to give it a bit more rigidity.
Nylon?
Yeah, I think it's like probably a more upmarket version of 3D printing. So instead of plastic, they just use nylon. I don't know. I'm not a 3D printer, but it sounds better anyway. But it's not one of those kind of like cheap, nasty, all 3D printed cameras which just don't feel like they've got any bulk to them. This is it looks like it's a really well made camera, and if it's got a top and bottom alloy base plate, it will feel nice and sturdy as well. So all in all, it looks like this could be a great camera, and it's free from all the gimmicks that are so often associated with new cameras. It's got a manual film advance lever, so all the the movements in it are proper mechanical stuff, which is all made out of metal as well. They're not 3D printed. So on a normal 36 exposure roll of film, you'll get around 20 exposures in this sort of wide panoramic format, which I think is a good number, because I don't know about you, Ruth, but I think 36 frames on a roll of film is too many, because
it is too many.
You generally get halfway through it, finish whatever you're shooting, and then you put the camera down, and that's annoying because you can't get access to your photos, because you don't want to sacrifice the rest of the film and just take the film out the camera halfway through.
So I've now got to take 2 camera sets on the next trip I'm going on, just so I can
Exactly.
go between colour and black and white.
And then what happens is that you then take the camera, which has now got half a roll of used film, so you've got half a roll left to go, to a completely different location, which is in different lighting effects, and guarantee that that's the wrong film for that scene. And so you end up shooting like a black and white when it should be colour, or a low ISO when it should be a high ISO, or whatever. So the fact that this has only got 20 exposures, I think, is beneficial over 36, because it means that you can change the film out more often and have the right film in the camera for the right scene. So this is a Kickstarter project, and this is where the name comes from, by a guy called Robin Bierman. So rather, I don't know, egotistically, I guess but I love this camera. And
it's a memorable name.
Yeah, no. I think the worst thing about it is possibly the name. And there's nothing against Robin himself. He's got a great name. But if I was going to design a camera, I wouldn't call it the Macadam-arama or something like that.
I do recall you having a series of awards called the Macadamy Awards.
Yeah, but that's playing on the word academy. I mean, come on, that's clever. But anyway, so Robin Bierman has created the beer pan camera, but my advice would be to try and come up with a better name, and then I think this will be a really good all-round package. So the first units are estimated to be shipping towards the end of the year, probably December, but as this is a Kickstarter, they normally run behind schedule, so it might not be until next year. There's 2 models available. The basic model will cost you £575, and that doesn't have the top and bottom alloy plates, so it's 100% kind of nylon 3D printed. But then if you want the camera to be a little bit more sort of touchy-feely and feel a bit more solid, then it's going to cost you £730 for the premium version with the alloy on it. So I really like this. And, you know, I haven't wanted a new camera for quite some time now because I've got enough. And I only ever buy cameras when I have a use for them. I don't buy them to collect them or anything. But I can honestly see myself using this camera. And I know many people who I would recommend this camera to because it's small. So, you know, one of the downsides of some of the cameras that I've got that I give to people is they're quite big. And if people haven't got big hands, you know, especially if they're female, they find it quite difficult to hold and support. This is going to be much smaller. The waist level viewfinder is really good for composition, and it doesn't break the bank. You can have a wide choice of lenses on it. There's not really much to dislike. The only 2 things are I'm a little bit concerned if there is no magnifier on that waist level viewfinder, and the name I think needs to change. But other than that, I'm going to give it a big tick.
Wow, fantastic. James, have you had a wee look at this? What do you think about it?
I have, yeah. No, I'm looking at it. It's got good glass on the front of it because it takes those Bronica ETR lenses, and I don't think they're overly expensive, but I'm no expert.
No, I think there's plenty of them around on the used market. I mean, yeah. But the thing is, and this is a serious point, if you're thinking about getting one of these cameras, although they're not going to be out until next year, buy the lenses now, because you can guarantee that when these cameras, if it's a popular item, all the lenses are going to be in demand and the price is going to double overnight.
So we used to use these lenses a long time ago, Ruth, so on a sort of secondary kit, as it were, as opposed to Mamiya lenses. But anyway, so they're very good lenses, and it's a cute looking thing. I mean, I just don't know much about the whole 3D printing thing, but it seems to be, you know, solid and sturdy enough. But I love the look of it.
Yeah, so do many people by the looks of it. He's doubled his original goal, so it looks like it's going to definitely be going into production. So we'll keep an eye on that story and let you know when it comes out. Marcus may or may not be one of the backers in there. I do not know. You've got another 22 days, Marcus. So I think if you want to back this particular item on Kickstarter, be one of the first people to get it. But do check that out. There is a link in the show notes if you'd fancy seeing that as well. We're going to give it a happy noise, aren't we? Here we go.
Yep.
There we go. Happy noise. That is the beer pan camera. Check that out. James, another one with a fantastic name. Tell us all about this. First of all, what is the name and how do you pronounce it? Because I'm not entirely sure. I know the first part.
Drone ball.
Ball or bow? Ball?
Drone bow. I think it's bow. Yeah. It will be bow. I was playing on the word drone ball because it's. We were talking about names that would associate with Marcus, and I thought droning old ball would be one.
That would be drone bow.
Yeah. Oh, anyway, it is drone bow, as in balance.
Honestly, the class in this studio. Carry on, James. Please.
I didn't actually hear what he said.
Good.
So is that a good thing? Are you going to edit it out?
No, well, I don't know. I probably should.
That's one of the finer points of the show, I feel, so far.
I genuinely didn't hear what he said. Anyway, there's a young aerospace student with the name Tyler Staub has invented a gimbal system, 3D printed again, using some kind of plastic or nylon that neither Marcus or I have ever heard of. But we've definitely heard of Velcro, so it's got that in it. Now, what it actually is you take your drone, we were talking about last month, all things droney, but this time you don't need a license for it because it turns your drone into a handheld gimbal, so it never flies. So no worried about, getting in trouble with the authorities or local landowners or whatever. And you might think, well, what's the point of that? Which is exactly what I thought when I first looked at it.
That's what I'm thinking right now, James.
Well, reading on a little bit, that what it does, it's a very simple, and I couldn't actually find a price for it. Not that matters anyway, really. You can follow the links if you're interested, but I don't think it'd be terribly expensive. This chap's invented and 3D printed.
£27.
Yeah, nothing. There you go. He's invented something that will bolt onto the bottom of your drone controller and then hold your drone in its folded position. So the wings are tucked away, or the propeller, the blades are tucked away, all of that stuff. And only the thing that's active is the camera, and the camera then acts as a gimbal. So you can use the whole thing as a handheld gimbal. There are very few uses for this, admittedly. You were using something very similar the other day, Ruth, doing some behind-the-scenes filming of us. So
substantially smaller, but yes.
Substantially smaller. But the reason that this might work, for very niche usage, is that sometimes I'll produce videos where we shoot drone footage of a building, let's say, and then the flies around above it, and then the drone flies through the building itself, and that can be a bit of a nightmare sometimes, and you don't actually need to be flying the drone. You could
run with your hand held in the air and just do it.
Yeah, well, we do that. And this solves that problem. We now don't have to worry about holding the drone, because that's what we do. So rather than crash a drone into a narrow doorway, but the reason you might think, well, why don't you do two different camera systems? Because keeping it all on the same camera system makes continuity, makes editing, makes everything much, much easier. So there is a very niche, small use for this. And for $27, why not, if you're a drone user?
You know what, James? If I saw somebody running around holding their drone, I would just think, oh, look at that poor person. Their drone's broken, but yet they can't admit defeat. They're still trying to use it.
Well, the key, what I do when I hold the drone in one hand, Ruth, and I flap my other arm just for added effect.
Sad times. I mean, it's a fun little thing. I didn't realise it was literally just kind of the little holder, the strap that he's made. £27 is what it costs in the UK, and so
So good luck to him. He's a nice young man, and before Marcus has a go at him, I think
he'll probably get a top grade for that. He's an aerospace engineering student, so pretty nice one to come up with. And the fact that he's got his picture in the papers, as it were.
He's a cheery-looking fellow.
He's a cheery-looking young chap. So yeah, check that out if your drone isn't flying, or maybe you just kind of want to keep on the ground with, what's the word when you're grounded? Grounded.
Yeah.
If you want to if you're being grounded.
Keep your feet on the ground and not get carried away.
If you can't get a license, if you're coming over here on holiday and it's too much faff to get all your numbers and stuff, just walk around with it.
But simplifying the story, a drone is a flying camera. And so what we've done is we've basically just taken the flying element back out of it and gone backwards again.
I've just explained why it does have occasional usage.
Yeah, I know. I'm just simplifying it. Just putting it in one sentence, just to make sure that everyone understands.
Well, right, good. There he is. Well, he's in a mood today, isn't he, Ruth? If you sensed.
There's anyway, shall we move on from this potential spat that I can see happening between the two of them? So what do we reckon? I reckon it's called the drone bull. Now that you've said gimbal, that's where the bal comes from, although it's BLE. Mm-hmm. No, it's BAL. How do you spell gimbal?
Yeah.
Does it matter? Anyway, the drone bull. Does the world really need it? Yes, no, maybe. Any ideas?
Maybe to yes.
I give it a maybe. I give it a maybe.
Well, let's give it a just about there, but not entirely sure. That's the drone bull. Check that out if you want to. The next one is a little bit more serious, shall we say, Marcus, although still kind of at the extreme end of the photography lens spectrum. What is this lens?
Yeah, so this is a brand new lens, and it's by a company which I really don't know how to pronounce this, but I'll give it a good go. Astrori. Because it's spelled Astrhori, and the H is a capital H. So
everyone does that these days. It's the posh thing to do.
Astrori. So it's a 6mm f2.8 full frame circular fisheye lens. Now, this is available in the Sony E mount, the Panasonic L mount, the Canon RF mount. I'm not sure how they managed that one, and the Nikon Z mount. So it's got a good choice of cameras you can put this lens on. Now, manual focus only, not a problem, because depth of field at 6mm is virtually. it might as well not focus. It wouldn't make any difference really. If you look at the focus barrel, the bit that you twist on the lens, it goes from there's lots of readings and it goes up to 1 foot, and then the next one is infinity. So basically, if your subject's more than 12 inches from the end of or from the camera, not even from the end of the lens, from the camera, then you're basically putting this on infinity anyway. And I can't see that you're going to be photographing that many things that are that close. It's got a clicked aperture ring, so as you change the aperture on the lens, it clicks from f2.8 down to f16. It offers 180 degree field of view, so easy to get your feet in it accidentally, or your fingers as you're holding the camera. So you have to pay attention to that. But what's the purpose of this lens? Because it doesn't, although it's for full frame cameras, it gives you a round image, a circular image. And my question to, you both, is what is the purpose of a circular image? What can you do with it?
It's a novelty. It's a novelty lens. I mean,
exactly. So it's a novelty. So once you've done it once, then you go, right, I've done that. It sits on the shelf.
If you're a submariner, or you work in the Navy and you've got portholes, then you could create some artwork for your porthole.
Yeah, absolutely. And so if you're one of those people listening, then this is the lens for you. If not, then it's probably of zero use whatsoever.
But the wider question is, how many photographers out there, write in and tell us, have bought a fisheye lens, had it gather dust, and then sold a fisheye lens?
Yes, well, that's what fisheye lenses do. They you buy them. You use them for a couple of days, you get the novelty out of the way, and then you think, right, I've had enough of that.
You take it. What you generally do is you put it on your camera indoors. You go, oh look, I can see the whole room. That's cool. Then you go outside and you go, oh look, I can get the top of the tree and the top of my terrace housing in. And then you get really close to your dog or your cat, and you take a picture of its nose, and then you put it back on the shelf.
The thing is, James, what you've just described there is a full frame. Rectangular fisheye lens. This is even more novel than that because it gives you a circular image. You can't frame it.
Yeah, I was kind of thinking about the round ones that you used to get kind of make a couple. I've owned a couple over the years and used them for doing stitching and interior stitching and stuff like that.
It's worth mentioning that this is very close to the world's most useless lens that has ever been made, and that was the Canon zoom fisheye lens that goes from. I think it was from 8mm to 15.
8 to 15.
It was circular when it was 8, and then you could zoom it until it got to 15, and then it filled the whole frame. But anywhere between those two, you just got dark corners. And so what was the point? You could never use it at 9, 10, 11, 12 or 13, 14 millimeters. You could only use it at 8 or at 15. There was no need to have the zoom in the middle because no one could ever use that.
I know, which is why I gave it to Ford's, the mighty fine dealer.
Yes.
The one that I had, but I did buy it for very niche use of, as I said, stitching. Now I would say, to give a little bit of balance, Ruth, to the use of fisheye lens generally, neither Marcus or I are into, slightly more abstract stuff. Particularly, it doesn't float our boats, as it were. So if you are, then this might be the lens for you. But if you're not, then it definitely is not. It's very hard to find a decent subject to shoot with it and an end usage for a lens like this.
So just last week, when I was doing the film workshop out on the Outer Hebrides, one of the guests of customers had a fisheye lens for his medium format camera. He took a picture of the standing stones, and it was fantastic. The way that they sort of curved round, they all came in. It looked like he was in a forest, and it was a really good effect. But that filled the frame, so I kind of get that, But I just, if it had been a circular image, I just don't know. I don't see what you could ever do with that.
Well, maybe our eyes are a bit, our circular eyes are a bit blinkered to. Images with square corners. So I don't know, it just doesn't suit my style or yours particularly. So
it doesn't break the bank though. It's comes in at $299 which is about
really?
what, £7 or something.
I'll buy two.
So yeah, it's not going to break the bank. So if you want to have a bit of fun for an hour and you can afford $299, then go for it, and then maybe you can sell it again for half the price or something. It's the kind of thing that, if you bought it for Christmas, you sort of go, oh, thanks very much, and then you put it on the shelf and never use it.
Okay. I'm hearing a resounding no thank you from both of you.
There are other fisheye lenses already on the market which people have realised that are useless, and so they don't buy those. So we don't need another one, really, do we?
Ruth, neither of us are creative and abstract enough to make use of a product like this.
Well, fair enough. And there we go. Give it the wah 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 sound effect. Anyway, final item is another lens which I think might find favour.
Please let it be better.
A little bit more high end.
Should we go high
Well,
end?
it's more expensive.
Should we go high end?
It's more expensive, let's put it that way. James, this is vaguely following on for something topic we were talking about a few months back on the podcast. Tell us all about this. What is it?
So Leica has unveiled the first 35mm Noctilux lens at f1.2.
Now we know what Noctilux means.
Well, it actually, so I told you what it meant before when we talked about it before. It actually says it in this article here, so it means night and light. It's not difficult.
So, but explain to us what because they've released 35mm before, obviously, but what's the Noctiluxness?
Yeah, so basically they've completed a sort of trilogy of lenses, really. I'm just finding my notes where it's gone now. 50mm and 70mm at 1.2 as well. It fits their M series cameras, so you've now got 3 focal lengths, and I'm a huge fan of 35mm. Not a particularly big fan of 50mm, which is kind of like for like what the eye sees. 75, not so bad, but it's a nice trilogy of lenses if you could afford them. There's all sorts of stuff about lens coatings and floating elements and all sorts of things. But in the end, it's a mighty fine piece of glass, probably the best that there is. Opens all the way up to f1.2 at a fabulous focal length of 35mm, which I think is the most relaxed of all the focal lengths. If you're wandering around, that's roughly your relaxed, casual field of view. So very good for, reportage photography, street photography, or snaps of the family, if you can justify spending. Are you ready, Ruth? Are you ready?
I am ready, James.
$10,000 for 5 centimetres and 416 grams, and with an integrated hood of 35mm 1.2 Leica Noctilux fabulousness.
I can see every Leica user that can afford it actually just thinking that's going to complete the trilogy, the Noctilux trilogy. I mean, come on.
Yeah, you got to have. I think you got to have 2 bodies. You got to have a pelican case, foam cutouts, and then those 3 lenses lined up.
So, James, given the option of having one 35mm Noctilux lens,
or a night in a premiere with you.
No, that would be obvious. Or you could, for the same money, you could buy 32 Astori circular fisheye lenses.
Well, why would I want to buy 32?
Exactly. Well, there we go. And there lies.
That's that's the most ridiculous what if choice things ever.
No, I'm just drawing comparison. With the price difference here.
I think that 10 grand is about the price of a Canon 400 2.8-ish. I think it might even be a bit more than that, the Canon. It's certainly the price of a 100-300 f2.8 Canon zoom lens. Would you rather have that on your Canon system, or would you rather have this?
I'd rather have this.
I would rather have this as well. And I love big Canon glass. White glass like that is fantastic to use, to handle. It's just amazing. Fast, big, long primes are beautiful to use. But I bet this is out of this world.
Yeah, I think if you're going to have a long lens, then you're just going to be tempted to go and disturb owls. So this is much better.
It'd be very good for owls, this, at 1.2.
Yeah, exactly. But I think this is, normally when we talk about, fast primes, you're always going to suffer a little bit when the lens is wide open. But because this is a very high quality lens, I would imagine it's going to be very good at wide open.
Well, that's a very good point you raise, actually, because the number of times people think that, you can open your lens up and they expect it to be sharp corner to corner. And granted, over the last 5 years with the new mirrorless lenses and technologies, they've got a lot better. But just because a lens is a 1.2, 1.4, 1.8, f2, f2.8, f4, whatever they are at its widest apertures, doesn't mean that you should use it at those wide apertures. You shouldn't. You should avoid them if at all possible, really, because the sweet spot will always be a couple of stops closed down. So even if I was to have this lens at 1.2, I would probably be using it at f2 most of the time, because it would also be quite hard at 1.2 if your subjects are relatively close doing street photography to get critical sharpness. But at f2 you'd be giving yourself a tiny bit of leeway, and that lens is going to be absolutely super sharp,
singing and dancing. It is
like the photographer holding it.
Yeah, now there is I believe it's a 50mm Leica Noctilux lens, which is f0.95.
That's also
And
true.
When they designed that, they designed it to work at 0.95, and they even considered not making any other apertures available.
I'd heard that. I didn't know whether that was a sort of urban photographic legend.
Well, I've only heard it from the same avenues that you have, but I just think that because they manufactured that lens to be optimum at its widest aperture, maybe the same principles apply here, and maybe it does work really well at f1.2. We'll never know because we don't have $10,000 to spend on it.
Do we not?
No.
Well, what happens? What happens if we get rid of Ruth?
Well, then we could get a Hastori lens for that.
Okay, all right.
Or we could get that gimbal thing, the drone into a gimbal thing. That's £27.
I tell you what, without going down a rabbit warren here, now that you can, on digital cameras, change everything, obviously ISO, shutter speed and aperture, it would be quite funky if a manufacturer of lenses just concentrated on absolute critical everything, sharpness, colour, everything, coatings across the board, and just sacrificed and just produced a lens at f2 or a lens at f4 or 5.6 or something. It would be because you can because everything else is so adjustable. You could actually shoot with that quite easily in this day and age.
But it wouldn't give you any control over depth of field. That's the only issue there.
No, it wouldn't. But it would make you. We always say zoom with your feet. You'd have to control depth of field with your feet as well.
But you can't. Though.
I know it changes the feel. I know that. But yeah, changes all sorts of things. But we don't need. I said we weren't going to go down a rabbit warren, but it would be quite an interesting exercise. I mean, as you know, I only ever shoot at wide open, f8, and very rarely ever at f16 or f22. Anyway, because
you just said that you don't shoot wide open. Now you're saying you are. Make your mind up.
No. I said lenses don't always work like at their best wide open. But if it's a 2.8 modern lens, I'll shoot wide open. If it's where I don't need depth of field, if I just want the sharpness of the lens, it's f8 or f11.
Right, tell you what, guys, for a bonus half point.
No, come on, because that means he can draw.
Oh yes, bring it on. You are worth a Noctilux. No, the other way around. You're worth a Leica, not a.
Thanks.
You're the expensive
not
lens.
Not the Fisheye. Right.
I want the extra half point. Come on.
Okay. Leica also have another range of lenses. First established in the 1930s, but now they are a cine series of lenses, very, very expensive. The one I'm looking online right now, you get a set of 6 for £34,000. Points if you know what they are, what that range is called.
Tri-Elema?
No.
Hector?
Yes.
No, come on.
Yes. It's called Hector. I considered using this for the quiz. This was Max Berwick, the designer. He named them after his dog, called Hector, in the 1930s. And that was a series of lenses back then, but they've just reintroduced them just now. Or not just now, they're current at least.
So what's 2.5 plus a half? That's 3.
Right. So Ruth, what you're saying is you've just robbed me of my finest victory.
I'm not going to give you that. I was teasing about the half point. I just wanted to throw in the Hector series compared to the Noctilux, the Summilux. We've got the Hectors. Have a look at my Noctilux. Have a look at my Hector. Yeah. Do you want it, James, that badly? You'd only draw.
You know, I'm very competitive.
Think about it, James. No, think it through properly, because if you were to get that half point, okay, would you be able to sleep soundly tonight?
What, knowing that I'd upset you? I'd sleep like an absolute baby.
No, just sneaked in the back door and just done it dirty. I'd just accept defeat and have a proper night's sleep if I were you.
Marcus, you'd know who the true winner was. Anyway, no, we're not giving you the half point. I was just curious if you knew that Leica have a range of lenses called Hector, named after the guy's dog. But anyway, we'll give that a resounding, I think this is a popular one. There we go. We'll probably never see one. We might get a touch one. We sometimes have customers using Leicas, so you never know. But there we go. That is Does the World Really Need It? And again, check out the show notes if you would like to further investigate any of those items. On any of the platforms you're listening on, you can have a wee look at that.
The Photography Online Podcast, in partnership with Kingjoy Tripods.
Well, earlier on in the show, we heard from James, who was out and about using his Kingjoy C83S tripod somewhere in the world. He dropped a few clues for you to work out which country he was in, but we can now reveal the answer. So, James, not you, James, other James, tell us where you are.
Well, the clues were that I am on a well-known island which is often overlooked by an even better-known neighbour. You may well have heard some Italian being spoken by the passers-by, and that's because I'm in Italy. But you need to be a little more specific than that, please. I told you I was photographing buildings and that it would be pointless shooting them in black and white. And that is because I'm on the very colourful and beautiful island of Burano, where all the houses are painted in various vibrant colours. If I turn my head to look over my right shoulder, I can see Venice in the far distance, which is the better known neighbour I referred to. Very well done if you guessed right.
Well, if you want to see the photo that James took, head on over to our Facebook or Instagram pages where you'll be able to see his shot of Burano, or you can, of course, check out the link in the show notes. We will be hearing from another team member on location with their tripod next month. And talking of next month, we are going to be dropping more episodes, of course. Oh, I'm sorry, not dropping. What do we say?
Releasing.
We've decided dropping is too young for us, which I think we should be playing into because,
No, because it just irritates our demographic.
Does it? If you're irritated by the word dropping, or if you couldn't care less, do let us know.
Dropping is something done by owls.
Oh, for God's sake.
And pregnant mothers.
Definitely time to wrap up this podcast. Yes, coming up on Photography Online, the YouTube show over the next few weeks. Might even be out by now. We're carrying on with our buying and selling used gear challenge. This is where Marcus started the year off with £20 and he's been trying to sell gear on eBay. And by the time December rolls around, he's hoping to have enough money to buy James and I either a fisheye lens or the Noctilux F whatever it is, 1.2. So that is going to be coming up. We are also, as Marcus mentioned earlier on, I say we, Marcus is heading off to China. In fact, he'll be in China, I think, when this podcast releases. And he's going to be visiting the Kingjoy Tripods factory. He is going to be taking along a video camera, possibly not the drone held by hand, but we might get something else for him. And showing you guys what's involved in the making of a very fine tripod. So Kingjoy Tripod Tour also coming up. Anything else, Marcus, that you want to mention that's coming up on the channel over March, shall we say?
Yeah, we've got a number of things in the pipeline, but I don't know when they're going to be released. So we've got 5 ways to draw attention to your subject, which is featuring the whole team, because we've got it turned out that there's 5 ways and 5 team members. So
there we go. We haven't been together for a while, so that'll be good. So we've got young Nicholas Hansen reviewing a new camera bag. Mm-hmm. So to see if that's any good. There's a couple of other things that are in the pipeline, and it's just a case of which one gets finished first, basically, as to when they're released. Okay, well, keep an eye on our socials. We'll let you know when stuff's coming out. Also, if you're not signed up to our newsletter, if you head to mc2photography.com, there's a really obvious link there to sign up for that. We will let people know in advance when we've got new videos coming out. And we are hoping, as we said, on our live show, which some of you may listen to, some of you may not, that we'll try and release these on Sundays at 4 p.m. UK time, just so there's a little bit more predictability about when those are coming out. So do sign up for the newsletter if you'd like to be kept informed, or follow us on our socials. We are done. I think it's time for these two to go eat something, and myself as well. And it's gotten very dark where Marcus is. It's either a storm rolling in or you've
it's
just not got the
just that
lights
we've been
on.
going so long, Ruth, that the day's ended.
I know. If you notice, Ruth, that it's actually, you've got some serious editing to do here, because I think we've actually rolled over a 24-hour period, or at least it seems like it.
But by the time she's edited all the nonsense out, James, she'll probably get it down to about an hour and 20 minutes.
Anyway, thank you so much for joining us, and guys as well. We will be back next month as usual, the Englishman, the Irishman, and myself. So until then, take good care, but most of all, take good photos.
You've been listening to the Photography Online podcast in partnership with Kingjoy Tripods.